Hello everyone, it's Natasa from Treasure Books. In this tutorial, we'll do a step-by-step pyramid album / journal 2 ways. I love that this is fully customizable. You can make it small, you can make it large or giant. You can have your pages opening just the one way or alternating. You can make it really 3D to resemble a pyramid and use it for many different purposes, which of course we will discuss all of those things in this video. But best of all, it looks so fancy and it's so simple to make. Plus, I have written instructions. So let's jump right in. So I'm going to explain exactly how this works in 7 seconds, and then everything that comes after is going to make perfect sense. First of all, you have a square piece of some type of a sturdy paper. You don't want anything that's flimsy. That opens up like this. And then you have a smaller one and a smaller one and a smaller one and a smaller one and a smaller one. And that's it. That's all there is to a pyramid album. All right, but how do we make it fun? Now we can get to the tutorial in case you want to make this exact same album that I've got here. Just want to say I do have all of the measurements written down, but saying this might be a little bit off-putting. Let me just assure you that it's very easy to follow. And also if you want to use a metric system, you can start wherever you want. I wrote here 20 centimeters because that's approximately 8 inches. And now I'm demonstrating this size. If you want smaller, then you start at 6 inches, or you can start at 5 inches, or it's up to you. Okay, if you want, like, let's say this size, look at this, just this here, you can make a mini card like that, and that's approximately 5 inches. So you know, it's up to you where you want to start, and then you just go down by increments that you choose. I've chosen 1/4 of an inch or 1/2 centimeter. You can go bigger increments. You can go 8 inches, then 7.5, and then 7. And anyway, I'm going to stop here because I don't want this to be confusing when it's not. So we're going to make it real simple, and we're just going to do it step by step. And also I just want to point this out. I wrote it down so I don't forget. You can make smaller, like I said. You can make bigger, a giant pyramid album. You can make different shapes. You can make rectangles or hearts or circles or triangles. The idea is that you're going from a larger piece to a tiny little piece on top. Okay, it's as simple as that. You don't even need the tutorial. You can go and just do it all by yourself right now. But tutorial, here we come. So I am using these black sheets that come out of this old scrapbook album that, I don't know, I got secondhand and it's falling apart and all of that. So I'm actually going to use this. So basically you want, like I said before, just something that has a bit of weight. You don't want something like this. We don't want any flimsy paper, at least for the base. And another thing that I'm using is scrapbook paper that I hate, or scrapbook paper that I don't particularly like. So for example, this, I don't use this in my crafting. I'm not a fan of this. I don't like it, but I can use it in this project because, as you can see, only little snippets of the actual scrapbook paper are visible. So perfect for this project to use your papers that you don't like. So I'm choosing black cardstock and then bright or colorful scrapbook paper, and that gives me like this kind of a definition. You can see black, colorful, which is what I've got in my notes as well. Black color, you know, just so you can kind of follow easy. But you don't have to do the black. You can do them all colorful. It's just not going to be as standing out. you know, you're not going to have this kind of a 3D looking effect, or you might, I don't know, you're going to have to try it out for yourself. But I'm starting off with this. So the first thing that I need is to make this shape out of my cardstock, right? So I want an 8-inch square card that opens up, okay? So we're starting off with 8-inch square. So I'm not going to cut this down to an 8-inch square, okay? Because we need to hinge, we need to have this page opening. All right, so this is how I'm gonna do this one. I'm gonna demonstrate one more, and then it's all gonna make perfect sense from here on out. But first I'm gonna chop this off. And I'm using, of course, 2 sheets because I'm going to hinge them together. So I'm just gonna grab one sheet, and I'm going to make myself a fold, like a hinge. You don't need to have a scoring board. If you don't have one, you can just use your ruler and something like a little bit pointy like this to make a dent in the paper, like so. Excellent. I'm going to fold at that score line, and this gives me my hinge so I can glue my papers together. And just to show you what I'm going to do, the hinge is always going to be at the bottom, so it's not visible anywhere in my album. And then this gets glued on top, just like that. All right, so I'm really hating how this black paper is coming up on screen, but it is what it is. Okay, I'm using double-sided tape as my little helper. I'm not going to rely on double-sided tape. If you follow me and if you've seen my video on glue, your ultimate glue guide, you will know why I wouldn't rely on double-sided tape for anything really. And the good thing about that video is that it's got timestamps, so you can just skip to double-sided tape if you want to. Okay, anyway, double-sided tape is down. It's my little helper, and I'm gonna go in with the second type of glue. And I happen to be using PVA glue. I probably put a little bit too much glue there, but anyway, we shall just keep on going and glue this down. Okay, my first hinging piece is done. I have 2 large pieces hinged together, so now I can cut this down. I mean, you can use this size and then start going down, you know, if you want a giant one, but I'm starting from 8 inches, which means I have to cut this down to an 8-inch square. So first thing that I need to ensure, and this is quite important, is that my papers, I suppose, are aligned completely here, and these are not. You can see that this top paper is kind of sticking up above a little bit. Such a minor detail, but it is important. So I'm just making sure that I have that one straight edge at the top. Okay, now we're going to cut it down to 8 inches. I can either do it this way, mark myself an 8, which is how I've always done it, and then mark myself an 8 over here and take it to my cutter and cut it. But this is just side note, but you know how many years I've been crafting, I've never ever used this ever. And yesterday when I was making this album, I thought, how do you use this thing? Maybe I don't need to mark every single time. So this is just making life so much easier. The only problem is you may not be able to see. So I'll put my paper in where I want to cut it. What do we say? I want 8 inches. So here's 8 inches of my little thing showing me 8 inches. I'm going to pop this down, line it up to 8 inches and cut. All right, so that's 8 inches. Now turn it this way, and of course we want to keep the hinged part, so don't chop that off while we're chopping this off. So we're going to put our hinged part to the 8 inches and we're going to chop. And here is my 8-inch square. It doesn't get any simpler than this, right? And now, as I said, I'm going down in increments of 1/4 of an inch. So my next piece should be the colorful piece, and it's going to be 7 inches and 3/4. So it's going to be tiny little bit smaller than the black piece. So here's my ugly scrapbook paper, and you know, please don't get offended. I'm calling my scrapbook paper ugly, but you know what I mean. I just don't like this particular thing. All right, we're going to 7 3/4. Perfect. And I'm lining it up here. Oh, this is just the best thing. Why? Not only, like yesterday I was thinking, why haven't I done cutting this way before? And also, so now we're going to go the other way. And also, why hasn't anyone told me? Why hasn't anyone ever said, Natasha, why are you always marking where you're going to cut? Why don't you just use the extender thing on your cutter? Yes. Nobody ever, not once. But I suppose I should know better. Okay, we don't need to, I'm not going to be doing any more cutting on screen, or I might just speed it up. All right, here is our first piece done. Super cool. We're going to glue this on right away. So the way that I made my album is I cut and then I glue and then I cut and glue and cut, rather than cut all my pieces, because theoretically you can, especially since you're going to have all the measurements. You can go ahead and cut your cardstock card that opens up to all of these sizes, and then you can cut all of your colored paper to these sizes and then start gluing, but I'm not going to do it this way. And just in case if you're wondering why I had like magazine page in my cutter, if you've noticed it at all, is because my cutter, the new one that I have, is actually blunt. Oh no, I just ran out of my favorite glue stick, so I'm gonna go with this one. All right, I'm using glue stick, but I'm not going to kind of depend on the glue stick. This is again just a little helper. Mainly I want the sides, right? And I have glue stick there, but it was the other one, which is clear. Okay, next I'm gonna go in with glue. But you know what the deal is, right? We're just gluing this one on top of the cardstock, and it's somewhat important to be precise when you're doing this, because if you go a little bit too much, say to the right, all of your following pieces are going to go too much to the right, and your pyramid might do this. All right, so if you'll not, let me just do this, move it, and then I'll tell you where I was going with that thought. And this is also one of the reasons why I think it's better to work as you go, or cut as you go, because you might need to make some adjustments here and there. So now that I'm going to point this out to you, you will notice, but I bet you didn't notice before. Somewhere along the line, I mean, I can't be absolutely 100% precise. So if you pay real close attention, my middle square is actually not right in the center. It's kind of off center a little bit, and you can see it here. Probably when I turn it this way, you can see it's a little bit more to this side. So try and be as precise as you can. This was me being really precise, and still it's not in the, right in the center. You may not even be able to see, but if I do this and find the exact center, this is the exact center of my piece, and you can see how the ruler is not, it should be here. So that's how much off center that is. Okay, all right, boring stuff, I know. But the thing is, you don't want to like spend all this work cutting and gluing, and you get to the end and you're like, wait a minute, what's happening here? So just try and be as precise as possible. Okay, that was easy. I know, lots of boring talk at the start, but now that we know what we're doing, it's just gonna be cruisy from here. So next piece we need, of course, is black, and the measurement we need is 7.5. So I need to go ahead and repeat the steps that I've already done in the previous piece. And I'm just gonna do one more on camera, and then it's, you know what to do then. All right, I'm scoring, I don't know if I said before, but I'm scoring my line at 1.5 inches. Not that it really matters. People always ask for measurements, and I always hate the whole measurement thing, because you can do whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like, if you know what you're doing, which is why I told you right at the beginning exactly what we are doing, you can choose your own measurements and your own increments. You can choose where you want to do this foldy business. Totally up to you. I'm going in with my double-sided tape. This is my little helper, the double-sided tape. Now going in with the real deal, which is some type of a glue. On the previous piece I used PVA glue, because when I did that glues video I realized how much PVA glue I have. So I kind of decided I wanted to like use it up, but anyway, none of that is important. All right, we have hinged. Now before I cut this down to the measurement that I need, which is 7.5, I'm going to make sure that both of my edges here are exactly the same, okay? So when you hinge, even a millimeter of misalignment is going to give you uneven edges over here. So I'm just first going to chop that off. Just making sure that I'm working with a nice straight cut or even edge. Now, what did we say? We have to cut it 7.5, and it's good to give yourself notes, which is why I've written them down for you, so it can be really easy. But write as you go. This was my original as I was working on the project, and I was just writing myself so that I know where I'm up to and my increments are all, you know, the way they should be. Okay, enough talking. 7.5. And by the way, keep all of these offcuts, you know, this hinged business, because once we get down to smaller sizes, you're going to use all this stuff up. I mean, I know you were going to keep them anyway. I know you don't need to be told, but all right, now I need to chop this part off, align it with 7.5. And here is my 7.5 inch square that now goes on top of the previous square, just like this. So at this stage, you can decide if you want all of your papers opening the same way, like my album over here. So you can see they all are opening the exactly same way. I don't need to, do I need to keep going? No, because you get the point. They're opening the same way. What you can do is you can have one, say, opening this way, and then the next one opening this way, which means if you want to do that, which is very cool also, alternating openings. So then you would glue your hinge on the opposite side of your previous hinge. Yes, of course, that makes sense, does it not? Because you want the openings on opposite sides. Do I want to do that? I don't know, do I want to do that? Maybe I do. I was going to say, but I am going to do this. But now I'm thinking I might want to do this, you know? I am going to do opposite. Yes, that's what I'm going to do. Okay, and at this point, we're going this to this. You know the drill. So I have decided to do opposite or alternating openings, which means I'm going to glue it this way, pop it down, and obviously see how that's, you know, askew. We don't want that, so we want to move it into the perfect center as much as possible. Okay, that's looking good. And now we can just speed through. I'm gonna do everything else, no more cutting. Actually, we'll just cut the next piece and then no more cutting, just gluing. I mean, for you, obviously, you're gonna have to do cutting, but you don't have to watch me cut. Okay, next piece we need, we're going down the list. We need a colorful one in 7.25 inch. One more piece of boring information in case you're kind of confused about the inches thing, because, you know, if you're using metric system or whatever, this is an inch. We're just looking between 5 and 6. This is 1 inch. This here is 1/2 inch. And then these spaces in between are each 1/4 of an inch. So we have 5, 1/4 of an inch, 5 1/2, 5 3/4 of an inch, 6.
6 1/4, 6 1/2, 6 3/4, 7.
Okay, does that make sense? Then you can further divide an inch into eighths. So let's look at 5. 5 1/8, 2/8, 3/8, 4/8, 5/8, 6/8, 7/8, 8/8, which is 1, or the next number, which is 6. Is this boring? I don't know. Then you can do 16th, 5 1/16, 5 2/16. Okay, that's the imperial system. Then you have your centimeters, and, you know, probably easier. I don't know. Depends what's easier for you. Might be silly that I'm pointing this out, but the thing is, I grew up using the metric system. Look how beautiful this paper is. I'm so going to use it. I mean, it's beautiful for this project, but not my kind of thing in general. Anyway, I grew up using the metric system. So when I started like finding all these tutorials and everyone's talking in inches, I had no idea what's going on. All right, I'm cutting this paper to 7 1/4 of an inch. So anyway, I taught myself the imperial system. All right, sliding my paper down to 7 inches 1/4, which is right there, and chop. And now the other side, 7 1/4, and chop. So what happened is when I started kind of trying to teach myself using inches, I started preferring it in crafting, and I also use it in my videos because most of my audience is in the US. And I'm saying this because people ask me, people mention this a lot. What's that in centimeters, or why can't you just use centimeters? Well, it's become my preferred method. And also, you know, if you want to know measurements in centimeters, it's probably easier to use Google than to leave a comment on my channel, because by the time, you know, I would have to Google it myself. If you ask me, what's 7 inches in centimeters? I have no idea. But I can always look on my ruler. Most rulers have both. And you can see 7 inches, so you can see that 17 and a bit centimeters, okay? You don't even have to use Google, just look at a ruler. And you know, sometimes you might think, oh, this is such simple things that everyone knows. But how long have I been crafting? I will tell you right now, I've been crafting my whole life. I've been filming videos on YouTube for I don't even know how many years. And I have never, ever, until last night, ever in my life, used this. Isn't that absolute craziness? You know, I would, in the past, every piece that I have to cut, let's say I have to cut this to 4x4, I would take my ruler, I would make myself a line. And you know this, if you've been watching my videos, I've always done it like this. Make myself a line and then go to cut, okay? And yesterday I was thinking, what's a faster way? Because there's a lot of cutting. Is there a faster way? And I thought, what is this thing? What kind of a contraption is this, and how do I use it? And then, you know, so sometimes when you think this is really simple and everyone knows this, you know, that might not be the case, which is why I went into the whole, you know, inches stuff. Okay, now I promise less talking, more working, no cutting. I'm simply gonna cut this off screen, get it ready. The next piece we need is black in 7 inches. As I was cutting down my 7-inch square that's now gonna go over here and open this way, I was thinking, what if I added extra elements here? First I was thinking, what if each one of these openings has a tab to make it easier to know, because mine is opening alternating. Maybe I can have a tag here, then a tab here, and then a tab here. So something like this, right? And then I thought, what if I have little bits kind of all over the place? So I grabbed my little box of bits and pieces, and I'm just gonna see how it would look. And then when my pyramid is finished, I have all these little bits kind of sticking out, and I think it's gonna look good. So I'm gonna go with that idea, and I'm simply going to glue stuff down before gluing this on top. I mean, we won't know until we try, right? So I'm just applying glue onto half of the, you know, the whatever I'm gluing down. I'm just gonna go ahead and do it, but I want it within. I don't want it to stick out of the project. All right, I see an issue here. So when I'm opening this, these are in the way. So these have to go. I can only have little bits stuck down on the sides that are not where the hinge is, if that makes sense. And now next piece, which is the 7-inch piece that I've prepared, is gonna be glued on top here. Yes, I do think this idea is going to work really well. I'm just going to add one more piece on this side. All right, so this one opens this way, which means this one has to open this way, if that's what you're going for. And now you need to glue it down. All right, moving along with our increments, our next piece we need is a colorful piece, which is 6 inches and 3/4, like that. Perfect. I'm going to glue that down. Trying to have that in the center as much as possible, but I think now that I've decided to add the bits and pieces, it's not going to matter if it's a little bit, you know, my final piece is off center. So at this stage, I'm going to go ahead and do the whole thing. And now because this piece is opening this way, I'm not going to put any bits on this hinge. And I'm going to put my little bits all around these 3 edges here. And as I'm placing my little bits down, I'm kind of filling in the gaps a little bit. Okay, I think I'm liking this idea so far. We don't need to add a whole bunch of bits. I've only got 4 little things on here. And the next piece that we need is black in 6.5. I'm up to the point where I have to score for my hinge. And I realized that just before, when I was giving you measurements, I said I'm scoring at 1.25 inches, which isn't right. Like this is, I'm not using that much. So I'm scoring at about 3/4 of an inch. You can do an inch. It's probably easier it really doesn't matter. Let's do an inch this time. I'm going to score there at an inch. But again, in this project, where you score and where you make that fold, it really does not matter because this part is hidden anyway. I'll show you what I mean. The hinge part is always glued down, so you can't see how wide it is, so it doesn't matter. All right, my 6.5 inch black square is done. And now, because this one opens this way, my hinge needs to be on this side so that it can open this way. And see how I'm gonna glue this part down so you can't see this seam. That's gonna be glued down. All right, perfect, that's glued down. Next piece we need is a colorful piece that's 6.25 inch big. Here we are, 6.25 piece. I'm going to glue this down. Okay, now that that's glued down, I am going to start adding the bits. And of course, I'm not putting anything on the hinge side. All right, next on our list, moving down to black in 6 inches. Perfect. Okay, next piece I need is a colorful piece in 5 inches and 3/4, and here we go, 5 inches and 3/4, checking the size. Perfect. I'm gonna glue this down. Now I'm gonna add my little bits. So I'm not yet sure how I'm liking the things, but I don't know. I suppose we'll see, and then you can make your own decision on what you want to do. Okay, so I can't glue it on the hinge because it will be in the way, so I'm gonna do these 3 sides. All right, moving along. Next piece I need is black in 5.5 inches, ready to go. And this one's opening this way, so this one has to open the other way. Okay, excellent. Next piece we need is colorful in 5.25. And here we go, glue it down. By the way, I forgot to say that at this point you can start using your offcut pieces. So for my next piece, which is black in 5 inches, I am going to start using the offcuts. But before I do that, I need to add the bits. Okay, the bits are added, and I have now officially decided that I don't like the bits, but I'm just gonna keep going and I'm gonna work something out as I go. All right, my next piece, like I said, is a 5 inch black square. And since this one opens this way, this one will have to open the other way. Perfect. All right. Next piece I need is a colorful piece in 4 3/4. And here we go, 4 3/4. Done. And I have decided to abandon the little bits idea, so I'm moving straight onto black piece in 4.5 inches. And by the way, I'm gonna put this whole thing up on screen at the end of the video so you have your instructions. Okay, 4.5 inches. Lovely. This one opens this way, so I have to glue this one down the other way. Excellent. Next piece we need is colorful in 4 1/4 inch. And glue it down. Lovely. Next, black in 4 inches. And glue it down. Oh, we're speeding through. Well, I'm doing all the cutting over here, so we're not really speeding through, but you know. All right, we are up to colorful in 3 3/4 and glue it down. Next, black in 3 1/2. Oh, that's looking sweet. Okay, next, color in 3 1/4 inch. Glue that baby down. Next, black in 3 inches. Lovely. Next, color in 2 3/4 inches. You know the drill. So if your increments are 1/4 inch like mine are, we're moving down, you have this much space. If you make your increments larger, you will have larger spaces, obviously. So your black bits will be, you know, larger, so less work, I suppose. You can make even smaller increments and have it really pyramid-y. Okay, what are we up to? We're up to black in 2 1/2 inches. Here we go. It gets easier as they get smaller as well. Next, color in 2 1/4 inch. Oh, how boring are these measurements? But some projects, you know, I try to avoid measurements like the plague, but some projects like this one, you need, you know, measurements, unfortunately. Next, black in 2 inches. Here we go. Oh, sweet. We're nearly done. Color in 1 inch and 3/4. And obviously, like I said at the start, you can begin wherever you want. Instead of doing an 8-inch square at the beginning, you can start at 6 or whatever. And same with stopping. You can stop wherever you want. You can stop at a tiny little piece, but I think this is going to be my very last one, which is black in 1.5 inches. But if I stop here, my book is going to start opening this way rather than this way. This seems more natural. So what am I gonna do? I'm gonna have to keep going. Even though my list stops here, I'm gonna keep going. So now I need a colorful piece, which is 1 inch square. Oops, I said 1 inch square, which is too small, but you know, we can do what we want, can't we? But I need a colorful piece in 1 1/4 of an inch. Teeny tiny little piece. And now to finish off, I need a black piece that's 1 inch. This is going to be my last piece, and it is done. Done. Okay, and now I'm just gonna pop something on top of here. Might not be a bad idea to, maybe we can do like a sticker or whatever, but it's kind of sticking up like this. So it might not be a bad idea. Well, first of all, I am gonna have this under something heavy for a little bit, but it would be nice to put something a little bit heavy here, like a button or something, but it might be in the way, you see. So let me ponder. I was thinking of gluing this metal piece down. Look how cool that looks. Oh, that looks so beautiful, but it's bigger than my top piece, which means that I won't be able to, the hinge won't open. You know, it won't be able to open if you have something covering the hinge. Let's keep searching. All right, I'm looking for something a little bit fancy. So I love this, but I wish it wasn't blue. Something different would work. I found this button. It's a shank button, but I can remove the shank. And I actually think this looks okay. But I want something with a little bit of weight, but not chunky, because it's going to be in the way, right? Anyway, I'm not going to glue anything down yet, because first, see how it's open? No, we can't have that. First, I'm going to put this under something heavy because it is curving up a tiny little bit. I'm not sure how well you can see, but it's from the, what's it called? The glue stick, right? So, or whatever glue you use. If it's water-based, it's going to buckle and all sorts of stuff. So first, I'm going to put this under something heavy and come back in a few hours or whatever. But I want to show you what we have. We have this thing that opens alternatively, you know, one way and then the other. At this point, I'm thinking that I prefer the other one, where they all open the same way. So they're all kind of opening this way. But it's good to try something new. And by the way, like this can open obviously all the way. Anyway, let's not do that. So at this stage, first under something heavy, okay? And then I'm gonna finish the front, and then we're gonna add a closure. And then I have another idea that I wanna play around with. And the idea is, instead of stacking them perfectly, I thought, why not stack them all kind of like this? So when you're opening it, it's not alternating and it's not going the same way, but it's rather going like this way and then this way and then this way. Does that make sense? I'm gonna have one done and show you like in a few moments, because I'm gonna go and do it and then come back to show you. But I'm thinking, imagine, you know, what we were doing now, we were like centering them. Instead of centering, I wanna make them crooked. Yes, that's what I wanna try and see what happens and how it looks. Okay, I have some things to play around with. I will be right back. And I'm back. I did all sorts of fun stuff. I'm gonna show you all of this in a moment. But first of all, I tried the stacking idea, the uneven stacking, and I hated it. And I'm gonna put a photo in here just so you can see how it looks, because maybe you won't hate it. So as you can see from that photo, it's not too bad. It's actually looking quite nice. Hello, Banjo. Banjo's having the zoomies. It's actually looking quite, it's not too bad when it's kind of scattered like that, but I didn't like it for this, so I just went with the standard. and this is what it looks like on the inside. And you can see over here, these are the measurements for this. If you want to make something simple and smaller and quicker, I suppose, then you go for the smaller size. So B stands for black, obviously, and C stands for color. And then you just, these are the measurements. The increments were 1/2 inch this time rather than 1/4 inch. So you can see that, you know, we're having the larger spaces here than in the previous album. Okay, and of course then I got a little bit fancy and did some fancy little stickers with the gold and the silver, and just wanted to make it pretty. And then we can do stuff on the inside, so we will discuss that now, I suppose, as we go. I just want to show you this, what I've done. So as you can see, obviously I ended up adding that shank button, but I took the shank off and I just glued it right there on top. I actually glued another piece under it, just this purpley paper, because it looked better. The black in the button stands out more than if I put it on the black cardstock. And now I'm thinking, I can't remember if I actually did that in this video or not. It doesn't matter. Anyway, you see what's going on. All right. Next thing I did, because I ended up not liking these extra bits and pieces that I added, I wanted to make it like, I don't know, look better. I'm not sure if I managed to do that. But as you can see, first of all, I went in with eyelets. So just added some eyelets, not on all of them, but just on some of them. And then I decided, oh, I should put in some charms, but I didn't go with charms. I ended up going with tassels. So anyway, it looks very boho-ish. I'm not sure how I feel about it, but I honestly, I think it looks better with the tassels and the eyelets than you know, with that. Okay, next thing I did is actually added stuff on the inside, because you might be thinking, oh, what do you do this kind of a thing for, right? So you can see I have added papers that can be written on, rather than just really colorful papers. And I was mostly using scraps here at the beginning because the pieces are very small, and just added some stickers here and there to make it look pretty. And so what is this thing? What do you use this kind of thing for? Because it's not, is it a journal? I mean, you can journal inside, and of course you can cover the other side as well. But this kind of thing, oh, and then I started playing around with, you know, interactive elements and adding pockets, and you can make it really fun. So you can make these really beautiful and interactive with this kind of a thing, with pockets and things that flip out and pull up and all that kind of fun stuff that we love to do. Well, I love to do that kind of stuff, so I assume everyone does. Or you can just leave it for writing or whatever, and then, I don't know. I think it's a great little gift, birthday card. So what I've seen, obviously this isn't my invention, and what I've seen these mainly used for is like photographs. You know, you can give this to your best friend kind of thing, and then you have photos of, you know, all of your fun times together. Inside you can write letters on the writing spaces and journaling spots like these, so that with every page that they flip, they discover something new and fun and interesting. I think these would look beautiful to sell as well. So you can make smaller versions. They can be cards, just any occasion card, doesn't have to be birthday or whatever. You just make it themed. Doesn't this look better than just a standard greeting card? I think so. I think it's next level. But obviously we need something on the inside as well. And then the last page, and I just started, look, honestly, I was just at this point I was like, okay, I'm gonna glue pockets down. I have this little belly band here, and then just these are all pockets and tags, and just to make it a bit more fun. So it can be like an interactive type of a journal. You can have journaling space over here. It can be, this can be a glue book. You can make one of these. I'm saying glue book because I'm actually working in a glue book at the moment, and I'm having so much fun. I'm gonna do a separate video about that. But you know, you can make one of these and it can be a glue book. Another thing that you can do, which would make it really, really fun, is make it like 3D. I think I mentioned that in the introduction. But see how, this is like a pyramid album and resembles a pyramid, but imagine that in between each of these layers, instead of gluing it down flat, you use this type of a thing. You use foam tape so that each level is raised. Oh, so how many levels do I have here? 1, 2,
3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13.
I have 14 levels, not counting the bottom one. So that would mean that you would have 14 of these. There's only 10 here, so this is how much it would be raised up. If you use 10, so you add another 4. So your album would be like up here and it will go like that. It would be so cool. In fact, I don't know why I didn't actually do that. I think because first I did this one and I did all that cutting and gluing, and then I did this one in the tutorial. Then I wanted to try a smaller one, and at this point I'm like, can I be bothered going through all of that again so I can see? But I would love it if maybe you can make a pyramid album and perhaps use one of these foam tapes and like take a photo of it from the side so we can see that pyramid effect. How cool. And then post the photo in my Facebook group or tag me on Instagram. Oh, that would be cool because I'd love to see how that looks. And now next thing on my list that I wanted to do is to add a closure. But at this point I'm thinking, this album journal, whatever you want to call it, I suppose it depends on the use. Let's say album. This one in particular doesn't need a closure. So I'm not actually going to do a closure, but I'm going to show you what I did. Now the back over here, I feel like this needs to be reinforced with something, but this one is reinforced with another paper, a piece of paper on the inside. So I don't think I think I can call this one done and dusted. The only thing is, if I want to have it on a shelf like this, I might do that. So having a closure is perhaps not a bad thing. All right, this one has a closure, and I'm just going to talk you through how to add a closure because it's really simple. You don't need to watch me do it. All right, so at this point we have ended and finished over here with our album, and now you want to add a closure. Okay, so you would choose what you want your closure to be. So I have just this twine and I tie a bow, and that's my closure. You can use ribbon. Ribbon would look quite nice. Just grabbing what I have handy. Let's go with this. All right, you can just have one on this side like this. I can totally do a better bow than that, but anyway, you can have just one here, or you can add another one over here so that they meet in the middle, depending, like if you're using something that's really visible, I suppose, then you can have one going across and then another one that way. Yes, making sense? But as you can see, I decided to just have the one going across, and I'll just show you at the back and it will make sense. So I just want to say this album is curving because I wanted to, I don't know if I said this already, but I actually used my PVA glue, which is water-based. So all the pages were kind of buckling and curving, but I wanted to do an experiment basically, so that's what I did. But that's not the only reason why this curves. It's also because of the nature of the project, because we're going from the larger to the smaller, so this naturally wants to kind of curl up. Just in case if that happens to you, don't stress, it's just the nature of the project. But this one seems to be doing it more than this one. Anyway, beside the point, let's add a closure, pretend closure. Okay, let's say we are pretending I want to add this closure. I want it to go across. I want it to be right there in the middle. So I'm going to pop it down. I'm going to go in perhaps with some glue. Then I'm going to go in with masking tape. And I'm going to plop down the masking tape maybe almost all the way to the edge. And then another one here and another one here. And you get the point. And then another one also almost to the edge over here. Okay? And then I grab another piece of cardstock, so you can see over here. We shall engage our imagination and pretend this is my piece that's cut down to size, but obviously like just tiny little bit smaller than my original, And then we glue it on top. That's it, done. And your closure is held in place. You can even use a smaller piece of paper, doesn't matter. But in that case, you wouldn't be putting your masking tape to the edges. You would hide it over here in the middle, and you attach that closure, and that's it, done. Another thing you can do, I could do that now if I wanted to, is put your ribbon down and attach this piece of paper, but only glue up to about here and up to about here, so you have this middle section free for the ribbon to move around in case if you wanted to, for whatever reason, remove the closure. It's just a thing you can do. So there we have it. One more little detail I wanted to point out. If you happen to like all the bits sticking out, just keep in mind, I'm going to show you this one. Even though it's dark and a little bit hard to see, keep in mind, see how I glued down on this piece over here? But it goes over the piece underneath. It goes over this hinge. This is a hinge. Okay, so every time I open my album, because this is covering that hinge, every time I open, I don't know how well you can see that, but that is in the way. You see that? So you want to make sure when you're gluing down, not only that you don't glue over its hinge. I don't know how else to explain this, but let's just look at this piece here. See how this is the folding part of this piece? I haven't actually got anything glued on top of that hinge because we need to be able to open those folds with ease without anything being in the way. And if you glue stuff on there, obviously that's not going to work. Then when you do glue stuff on where you can, like the free edge, make sure that that piece doesn't go over the fold underneath. Okay, I'm going to stop here because it will just keep complicating the matters, but I think it's, you know what I mean. And if you don't, and if you do have that issue, it's no big deal. You can just leave it, or you can like just cut it down, trim it down. It's no big deal. All right, but I suppose better to be aware than not. What do you think? What do you think? What do you think? I want to hear your thoughts. What do you think of this? I am feeling a bit like I'm feeling a little bit of an urge of doing the 3D thing, and now I'm feeling like I should have just done the 3D thing straight away, but it's too late now. Who's got the time? Because the thing is, I'm already on to the next project, and now I'm no longer excited about this one. I'm excited about the next one. So the next project, I'm of course not gonna keep it a little surprise. But what happened during the duration of making these, of course, we're left with all these little pieces and all the bigger pieces too. But, you know, and our scrapbooks, our scrap folders are getting chunky. And I had another brilliant idea. Well, I don't know how brilliant it is, but I want to move on to that. And I want to, I don't know, I can't stay faithful to... let's just say I have a wandering eye when it comes to the crafting projects, if you know what I mean. So I'm like over here working on this one, but my eye actually is on that one over there. So that's a blessing and a curse. A blessing because all the ideas are just coming my way, and a curse because, you know, I just want to do the next thing all the time. Okay. That is it. The pyramid album / journal, depending on how you want to use it, is voila, complete. I'm going to put the measurements on screen in just a moment. I just want to give this little beauty its own moment to shine, and I'm realizing how well it goes with my gold nails. I just love gold. You probably know that already. Isn't this a cool little thing? You've probably made these before. I've never made them before, so you know, kind of got excited there for a little bit. I am really eager to hear your thoughts. Please, if you have any, you know, more ideas on how you can use these and things that you can do, please comment, leave the you know what to do, the comment section down below. I am going to pop the measurements up on screen if you want to do the exact same thing that I've done. Another fun thing, of course, is if you do the variations, so you make the like a rectangle one or a heart shaped one, circle, triangle, whatever. I think, oh, here's this one. This one is for the smaller album if you want to, I don't know. Okay, take a screenshot now. So the thing is, with each idea, we can just keep on going and on and on and on, because there's so many possibilities. And I always say the same thing because it's the truth. Like, I would love to do a heart-shaped one. I would love to do a really 3D one. But like I said, I'm on to the next thing. Oh, let's do this. Oh, let's be fancy. Oh, look at that. Please let me know your thoughts. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.